Lean Thinking, Banish Waste and Create Wealth in Your Corporation by James P. Womack and Daniel T. Jones. Picture this. It's the summer of 1994, inside a factory in Stuttgart, Germany. A brand new Porsche Carrera sports car glides off the assembly line. And something extraordinary has just happened. For the first time in the company's 44-year history, this car is absolutely flawless. Not a single scratch, not one misaligned panel, not even a faulty switch. At the end of the line, there's this massive area where a small army of highly paid craftsmen usually work. Their entire job? Fixing all the mistakes made during production. But today, they're just standing around with nothing to do. Now, for a company that symbolized German engineering excellence, this wasn't just a nice moment. This was revolutionary. Because just 2 years before this, Porsche was circling the drain. The legendary automaker was hemorrhaging money, sales had crashed, and people were seriously wondering if they'd survive. Here they were, building some of the world's most incredible cars in one of the most wasteful, inefficient ways you could imagine. The journey from nearly going bankrupt to building that first perfect car? That's a powerful story, but it points to something much bigger. It's an idea captured in a book that sold over 300,000 copies since 1996 and has quietly become essential reading for some of the world's most effective leaders and organizations. The book is Lean Thinking by James P. Womack and Daniel T. Jones. These authors spent years traveling the globe, from massive American auto plants to secretive Japanese factories, trying to answer one simple question: why are some companies absolutely brilliant at creating value, while most others are brilliant at creating waste? What they discovered was a completely different way of thinking, a mindset that lets any organization in any industry do more and more with less and less. Less human effort, less equipment, less time, and less space, all while getting closer and closer to giving customers exactly what they want. In our journey together today, I'm going to share the secrets of that mindset. I promise that by the end, you'll understand a single powerful Japanese word that will change how you see the world around you. It's a word that acts like special glasses, letting you spot hidden inefficiency and waste not just in businesses but in your own life. In how you study, how you work on projects, and even how you organize your day. This isn't just about business, it's about a smarter way to live. So let's dive in. Every good story needs a villain, right? An antagonist our heroes must overcome. And in the world of lean thinking, the villain has a name. It's a Japanese word you absolutely need to know. The word is muda. Muda. It means waste. But not just any waste, a very specific kind. The authors define it as any human activity that absorbs resources but creates no value. Think about it for a second. Mistakes that need fixing? That's muda. Building a product nobody wants, so it just collects dust in a warehouse? That's muda. Walking across a workshop to grab a tool that should have been right there? That's muda. Waiting for someone else to finish their part of a project before you can start yours? That's pure muda. The legendary Toyota executive Taiichi Ohno, who's the real hero of this story, was the most ferocious enemy of waste the world has ever seen. He saw it everywhere and dedicated his life to destroying it. He believed that most organizations and most people are drowning in muda without even realizing it. They've gotten so used to it, they think it's just normal. But there's a powerful antidote to muda. It's a way of thinking that provides a clear path to creating more value with less waste. The authors broke this mindset down into 5 simple, actionable principles. Understanding these 5 principles is the key to everything. The first and most important principle of lean thinking is to correctly define value. Now, this sounds simple, but it's where almost everyone messes up. Value can only be defined by the ultimate customer. It's not what you, the producer, think is valuable. It's not about your company's traditions, your fancy technology, or your existing assets. It's about what the customer is actually willing to pay for. And it has to be expressed in terms of a specific product or service. Let me tell you a story from the book that makes this crystal clear. It's about a guy named Doyle Wilson. a home builder in Texas. For years, he thought he was in the business of building houses. He focused on construction quality, crew efficiency, and competing with other builders on price and features. He kept getting better and better at building houses, but he was still only capturing a small slice of the market. A staggering 78% of home buyers in his area were choosing to buy used, older homes instead of new ones. He couldn't understand why, so he did something radical. He stopped surveying his own customers and started talking to the people who weren't buying from him. What he discovered changed his entire business. He found that people weren't just buying a con-call house, they were buying an imagery experience. And they absolutely hated the experience of building a new home. They hated the hassle of negotiating, the long, unpredictable waiting times, the inevitable list of things that were wrong after they moved in, and the feeling that they were paying for standard features they didn't even want. By contrast, buying an older home was simple. You see what you get, you negotiate a price, and you can often move in right away. Doyle Wilson realized he wasn't just competing against other builders, he was competing against the simplicity and certainty of the used home market. His customers didn't just want a house, they wanted a hassle-free way to get into a home. That single insight forced him to redefine value. He created a one-stop sales center, where customers could design their home on a computer, pick every single option, see the final price, and even arrange their mortgage and insurance, all in a single visit. He completely reorganized his construction process to shrink the time from signing a contract to moving in from 6 months down to a target of just 30 days. He had to stop thinking like a builder and start thinking like his customer. He realized the product wasn't just the house, it was the entire journey. That's the first step. Defining value through the customer's eyes. Once you've correctly defined value for a specific product, the second principle of lean thinking is to identify the value stream. The value stream is the entire set of actions required to bring that product to the customer, all of them. From the very beginning of its creation to the moment it's in the customer's hands. This isn't just about what happens inside your own factory or office. It often stretches across multiple companies, multiple departments, and even multiple countries. The authors tell an almost unbelievable story about the value stream for a simple carton of cola. You walk into a supermarket, grab a pack of soda cans, and you probably don't think much about it. But Womack and Jones did. They mapped out every single step. The journey of that aluminum can begins in Australia, where bauxite ore is mined. It's then shipped to a mill to be turned into alumina powder. From there, it travels for 4 weeks on a massive ship to Scandinavia, where cheap electricity is used to smelt it into aluminum ingots. These ingots are then shipped to Germany or Sweden to be rolled into thick sheets, then to another mill to be rolled into thin sheets. Finally, the coils of aluminum are shipped to England to be made into cans. The can-making machine itself is a technological marvel, spitting out finished, painted cans in less than 10 seconds. But at every single step of this global journey, the material waits. It waits in giant piles, in warehouses, on docks, in coils. It waits for weeks, sometimes months. Why? Because each company in the chain is trying to be efficient by making huge batches. The mining company mines a mountain of bauxite at once. The smelter makes a huge batch of aluminum. The rolling mills process enormous coils before changing their equipment for the next job. When the authors added it all up, the result was staggering. The total time from mining the bauxite to a finished can of cola sitting in your home was 319 days. And in all that time, the amount of time that value was actually being created, the time the material was actually being transformed, was about 3 hours. For more than 99% of its life, that future can of soda was just sitting around, waiting. It was pure muda. This is the power of mapping the value stream. It makes the invisible waste visible. The authors found that for any process, you can sort all the actions into 3 categories: steps that unambiguously create value, Steps that create no value but are unavoidable with current technology. They call this Type 1 muda. And steps that create no value and are immediately avoidable. Type 2 muda. The goal is to eliminate Type 2 muda right away, and then get to work on the rest. But you can't improve what you can't see. Mapping the value stream is how you learn to see. So, you've defined value, and you've mapped the value stream, exposing a shocking amount of waste. Now what? This brings us to the third, and perhaps most mind-bending, principle of lean thinking. Make the remaining, value-creating steps flow. This requires a complete rearrangement of your mental furniture. Almost all of us are raised to believe that work should be organized by departments and functions. The painting department paints. The welding department welds. The accounting department does accounts. It seems like common sense. And within those departments, it seems even more sensible to do things in batches. Let's paint all the green parts, then all the red parts. Let's process all of one type of form, then the next. This keeps everyone busy and the equipment running, so it must be efficient, right? Wrong. The authors tell a wonderful story about a simple experiment one of them did with his 6- and 9-year-old daughters. He asked them the best way to prepare their mother's monthly newsletter for mailing, folding, addressing, sealing, and stamping. Their answer was emphatic. First, fold all of them. Then, put on all the address labels. Then, add all the seals. Then, put on all the stamps. When he asked, why not just do one newsletter completely, from start to finish? Wouldn't that be less effort than picking up and putting down every single newsletter 4 times? Their answer was just as certain, because that wouldn't be efficient. Their little minds were already locked into the logic of batch and queue, and what's striking is that most of the world runs according to the thinking of a 9-year-old. The lean alternative is to focus not on the organization or the equipment, but on the product itself. The product wants to flow smoothly from beginning to end without stopping. This is the concept of single-piece flow. Henry Ford was the first to grasp its power when he created the assembly line for the Model T, reducing assembly effort by 90%. But his method only worked for making millions of identical products. The real genius of Taiichi Ohno at Toyota was figuring out how to create flow when you're making things in small batches. He did this by right-sizing machines, making them smaller and more flexible, and by drastically reducing the time it took to change over from one product to the next. When you do this, something magical happens. Imagine a typical factory, like Lantec, a company that makes stretch wrapping machines. Before they discovered lean thinking, their factory was a maze of departments. A machine frame would travel all over the plant, from sawing to machining to welding to painting, waiting in queues at every stop. The path it took looked like a plate of spaghetti. It took 16 weeks to build a single machine from raw steel to shipment. The actual work time, only 3 days. Then, they reorganized. They threw out the departments and created production cells, one for each family of machines. They lined up all the necessary equipment in sequence. Now, a machine is built one at a time, flowing smoothly from one step to the next. The result? That 16-week journey was cut to just 14 hours. That's the power of flow. It's about getting rid of the queues, the batches, and the waiting. It's about letting value flow without interruption. This leads directly to the fourth principle of lean thinking. Let the customer pull value from the producer. When you can design and build a product so quickly, you no longer need to rely on sales forecasts. You can stop pushing products onto customers, hoping they'll want what you've already made. Instead, you can simply make what the customer asks for, when they ask for it. Think about the book industry. The authors point out that nearly half of all books printed in the United States are destroyed without ever being read. Why? Because the publishing value stream is so slow and clogged with waste. It can take weeks to get more books to a store if it runs out. So publishers have to guess what demand will be and print thousands of copies to fill the channel, even though most will never sell. The rest are returned and turned into pulp. It's an ocean of muda. A lean system turns this on its head. Instead of pushing, it pulls. Let's look at a real-world example. Bob Scott and his broken bumper. Bob backed his 1990 Toyota pickup truck into a pole and needed a new bumper. In the old days, his local dealer wouldn't have had a part for an older truck in stock. It would have taken days to get one shipped from a regional warehouse. Bob would have been an unhappy customer. But Toyota had been working for years to create a true pull system for its spare parts. This story starts at Bumper Works, a company in Illinois that made the bumpers for Toyota. When Toyota first started working with them, Bumper Works was a classic batch-and-queue operation. They would make a month's worth of one type of bumper before changing their massive stamping presses, a process that took hours. Then, Toyota sent their sensei, their masters of the Toyota system, to teach them. They taught Bumper Works how to reduce their changeover times from hours to just minutes. They reorganized the factory for flow. Soon, they could make a small batch of any bumper type, very, very quickly. But the real magic happened in the information flow. Toyota completely redesigned its parts distribution system. Instead of dealers ordering large batches of parts once a week based on a forecast, they started ordering every single day, just to replace what they had sold that day. So when Bob Scott bought his bumper at the dealership in Pennsylvania, that sale triggered a signal. That night, an order was sent to the regional Toyota parts warehouse to replace that one bumper. The warehouse, in turn, seeing its stock go down by one, sent a signal to Bumper Works in Illinois to make one more bumper. And Bumper Works, seeing its steel inventory go down, sent a signal to its steel supplier. It's a beautiful cascade of information, flowing backwards from the customer, pulling value forward. Sell one, make one. No forecasts, no massive inventories, no guesswork. Just a smooth, responsive system that gives the customer exactly what they want, when they want it. That's the essence of pull. As organizations begin to master these first four principles, value, value stream, flow, and pull, something amazing begins to happen. This brings us to the fifth and final principle of lean thinking, the pursuit of perfection. It dawns on everyone involved that there is no end to the process of reducing effort, time, space, cost, and mistakes. Suddenly, perfection doesn't seem like a crazy idea. Why? Because the four principles interact in a virtuous circle. Getting value to flow faster always exposes hidden muda. The harder you pull, the more the obstacles to flow are revealed, so they can be removed. The direct dialogue with customers helps you specify value more accurately, which in turn helps you improve flow and pull. It's a process of endless improvement. The Japanese have two words for this. Kaikaku is radical, breakthrough improvement, like when Lantec completely reorganized its factory into cells. And Kaizen is continuous, incremental improvement. You need both. The book shares a powerful example from a company called Freudenberg no Kei. They made a component called a vibration damper. They conducted an initial Kaizen event and improved labor productivity by 56%. Most companies would have stopped there, declared victory, and moved on. But they didn't. They came back to that same process 5 more times over the next 3 years. With each visit, they found more waste to remove. By the end, they had boosted productivity not by 56%, but by an incredible 991%. How is that possible? It's because the pursuit of perfection changes your mindset. You stop comparing yourself to your competitors. You start competing against the ultimate standard, zero waste. It's a North Star that you can always steer by. Another key to perfection is transparency. In a lean system, everything is visible. Simple visual controls, like a whiteboard showing the day's production schedule, allow everyone to see the status of the entire system at a glance. When everyone can see everything, it's easy to spot problems and discover better ways to create value. There's nowhere for muda to hide. So those are the 5 principles. Precisely specify value, identify the value stream, make value flow without interruptions, let the customer pull value, and pursue perfection. Together, they form a powerful system for thinking and acting. They're not just a collection of tools for the factory. As the authors show through stories of companies like Porsche in Germany, Showa in Japan, and Pratt & Whitney in the high-tech aerospace industry, these principles can be applied to any activity, in any industry, in any country. They apply to product development, where you can cut the time to bring a new idea to market in half. They apply to order taking, where you can slash processing time from weeks to hours. And of course, they apply to physical production, where you can routinely cut throughput times by 90%. It's a universal framework for getting better. And it all starts with learning to see and relentlessly attack that one common enemy, muda. As we come to the end of our journey through lean thinking, it's worth taking a moment to reflect on what this all really means. On the surface, this is a book about business. It's filled with stories of factories, supply chains, and corporate turnarounds. But if you look deeper, you realize it's not really about business at all. It's about a fundamental, almost philosophical way of looking at the world. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the simple elegance of the concept of muda. Once you learn to see the world through that lens, you can never unsee it. You start to notice it everywhere. The extra steps you take in the kitchen to make breakfast. The disorganized files on your computer that make you waste time searching. The poorly planned study session, where you spend more time figuring out what to do than actually doing it. All of these are forms of muda. They're activities that consume your most precious resource, your time, but create no real value. And this is where the book becomes incredibly practical, even for someone who's still years away from running a company. The principles of lean thinking are a universal toolkit for a more effective and satisfying life. So what can you do right now to start applying these ideas? First, I challenge you to conduct your own personal muda hunt. For one day, just pay attention. Keep a little notebook or a note on your phone. Every time you find yourself waiting, searching for something, redoing a task because of a mistake, or just doing something that feels like pointless busy work, write it down. At the end of the day, look at your list. That list is your enemy. That's the waste that's stealing your time and energy. Just the act of seeing it is the first giant step toward eliminating it. Second, try creating flow in a single important task. The next time you have a big assignment or project, resist the urge to multitask. Don't jump between research, writing, checking your phone, and outlining. Instead, try to do it in a continuous flow. Set aside a block of time, gather everything you need beforehand, and work on one step of the process until it's complete, then move to the next. Treat it like a single piece of work flowing through your own personal production line. You might be amazed at how much more you can accomplish and how much better the work feels when you're not constantly stopping and starting. And finally, embrace the 5 whys. This is a beautifully simple technique from the book. When you encounter a problem, you got a bad grade, you missed a deadline, you had an argument, don't just accept the surface-level reason. Ask, why? And when you have an answer, ask, why? Vigil, again. Do this 5 times. By the 5th, why? You've usually moved past the symptoms and arrived at the root cause. And only when you see the root cause can you put a real, lasting solution in place. These ideas are simple, but they're not easy. They require a conscious shift in how you think. But the rewards are immense. The world is full of people who are incredibly busy but not very effective. They're experts at creating motion, but not at creating value. Lean thinking offers a different path. It's a path of focused, deliberate action. It's about being an enemy of waste and a creator of true value. It's a mindset that, if you cultivate it now, will compound over your entire life, giving you an incredible advantage in whatever you choose to do. That was a summary of Lean Thinking by James Womack and Daniel Jones. We've touched on the core principles today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only take you so far. The real magic happens when you read the book for yourself. It's in the quiet moments, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with your own experience in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your time. If anything we've talked about today has resonated with you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning a new business theory. It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see the work you do and the world you live in. A link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, I'd be so grateful if you could hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know that these journeys are helpful, and it ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.